Now, ABC 7 News at 4 on your side.
There's no excuse for the kind of violence that we saw yesterday. They're destroying and undermining businesses and opportunities in their own communities.
Good evening, everyone. Leon Harris here live in Baltimore, standing here in the daylight, which is giving us a really good look at the full extent of the damage left behind from the riots and the burning and the looting of yesterday. Baltimore police say nearly 24 police officers were hurt, one in critical condition at this hour. The mayor's office says that there were some 144 vehicle fires, 15 structure fires. More than 230 arrests were made during the unrest of yesterday. The violence coming just hours after the funeral for Freddie Gray, that is, who died while in police custody more than 1 week ago. This even as Gray's family pleaded repeatedly for the residents here to not take part in violent protests. We've got team coverage of the crisis playing out here in Baltimore. We're going to begin with Maryland Bureau Chief Brad Bell, who has been following today's smaller demonstrations. Brad, what have you been seeing?
Well, Leon, we've been seeing an extraordinary scene. We're just a couple blocks from where you are. This large crowd gathered at the intersection of Pennsylvania and North Avenues. They have been peaceful all day long. I don't know if you can see it, but a group of citizens has actually taken up a line in front of the police line. So the police are actually behind these folks here that you see facing up, who are ostensibly protecting the police from the crowd. Every now and then we've seen some sort of a thrust and parry. Somebody loses their temper, they go towards the police. The police may arrest one or two people, but things have simmered down all day long. We can show you some video of what we've seen around town today. The day dawns to a very different spirit all across Baltimore. We see people gathering in peace, music being played, songs being sung about the town and their hopes for peace. Across West Baltimore, hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers showing up unannounced to just clean up. First from the damage from the riots, and then moving into abandoned properties, back alleys, that sort of thing, trying to clean up. Now, there is also a different mood from the police today. There is a sense that they're not going to really put up with anything. There are National Guardsmen in town, more than 1,000 taking up positions. They're wearing full combat gear. They have their Humvees. They are heavily armed. Police have been holding briefings through this afternoon. This is the latest from them about the injuries their staff has suffered.
We know that a minimum of 20 of our officers have been injured during the course of the lawlessness that took place. We expect that that number might be a little bit higher, but we've had reports that our officers who sustained minor injuries did not want to come off the line, did not want to go seek medical treatment.
Well, there is also a little bit of a sense of lawlessness in town, even as peace reigns. The big crowd just moved that direction. What I was showing you is because a bunch of young men on motorcycles are performing tricks. They're doing wheelies down the center of the street. Everyone's over there with their cell phone cameras out, taking a look at them, cheering them on, all that sort of thing. It's actually a bit of tradition here in Baltimore. They call them the 12 o'clock boys. Back here taking a look at the police, you can see they are holding their line. They're allowing that to happen. So far, it remains, Leon, peaceful in Baltimore. Back to you.
And Brad, where we are right now, it's been peaceful as well, but it's also been very, very tense. Marty, I want you to get a shot of this phalanx of police officers who are standing behind us. These are Baltimore police. Now, where they are right now is not where they were when we first got here a couple of hours ago. What we noticed them doing is they've been slowly encroaching upon where this crowd here is standing. They've moved probably about 15 to 20 feet, but it's taken them a couple of hours to do it. But it's not been unnoticed by this crowd. I've talked to many of the people here in this crowd who are saying they plan on being peaceful. They expect and they hope and pray for the best here. But they're also saying that they fully expect these police officers to be the trigger for something that happens in this crowd. And I've heard that from more than one person. It's not like I've heard this from one agitator. I've heard this from people here who are school teachers in this audience, in this crowd out here. I've heard this from people here who are activists and consider themselves leaders in this community. They all believe that this crowd is dead set on peace, but these police are dead set on getting something started. We want to see what happens, as do they. At one point a little while ago, as a matter of fact, many of these protesters here had laid down on the ground in front of where the police officers are. They first went up to them and swept the dirt and the glass and the rocks away from where the police were standing to give the police room. Then they laid down and spelled out with their bodies the word love. Well, for some reason, that did trigger some sort of reaction in the police, and I heard reports from at least 10 people in the crowd who said they saw one of the officers pull his gun out. And that sent a really, really big wave of tension through this crowd, and that got things worked up for quite a bit. Since then, things have calmed down, but folks here are dead certain that they believe something is going to get started off here. There's also been a lot of criticism here for what the city has done and has not done. And for more on that, let's go now to Kevin Lewis, who's standing by with more. Kevin?
Hi there, Leon. We are standing at the Inner Harbor here, which of course is the crown jewel of the city of Baltimore. And you can see just a long line of National Guardsmen behind me making quite a statement here. And that is all because Governor Larry Hogan activated that state of emergency. If we walk this way, I can show you some of the items that are keeping these National Guardsmen hydrated and well nourished, because the weather is warmer today and they are in heavy gear. We have bananas here. This box has some granola. And there are bottles of water here to make sure the guardsmen are staying mentally and physically hydrated and well fit here. Now, around 2 o'clock this afternoon, Governor Hogan arrived at Pier 7 along the Inner Harbor. There he boarded a Black Hawk helicopter, which allowed him to survey the damage from above. Now, prior to liftoff, reporters asked the governor why it took so long to declare a state of emergency. He told us he was ready to sign the executive order 1 week ago, but that despite numerous pleas from his office, Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake waited until 6:30 last night to act. According to Maryland state law, the governor cannot activate a state of emergency until the mayor asks for it. And so in this case, the call came 3.5 hours into active rioting, looting, and fires.
Finally, I believe around 6 o'clock, the mayor said, requested us to bring in the National Guard and declare a state of emergency. We did so immediately because we had already prepared the order a week before. It was about 30 seconds before we completely activated all of the resources we had to bear.
Now, I did speak on the phone with the mayor's press secretary some 3 hours ago. By now, we expected some form of response to Governor Hogan's statement. We made him very well aware of our news deadline, but we are still waiting for a response from Mayor Rawlings Blake's office. That is the very latest in Baltimore. I'm Kevin Lewis, ABC 7 News.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that, Kevin. Now, the cleanup that is underway here is actually quite remarkable. I know we've seen this from various vantage points where the residents have taken it upon themselves to clean up. Now, wait a second. Now, we're being told to move out of the way as the police here are coming through. Can you tell me what's going on here? Excuse me, we're going to have to. Which way are you coming? You're going to drive over our cables. You're parking right here in front of us. We've been moved here for some reason. We do not know why. We don't know if this is. Let me see if I can crawl between the two trucks here and see what's going on here. Come here, Marty. Can you make it through here? We have been moved from our location now to a few feet further down the road here. It looks as though they're getting ready to try to move some of the equipment out of here that they've been using here to stage. Up to this point, there really hasn't been any movement, at least nothing of this magnitude. Again, the one reason why it's possible to even move through here is because these residents took it upon themselves to come out here and clean up this street here. There was nothing but rocks and bottles and chunks of concrete and cinder block laying all over the place here. Where we're standing physically is about half a block away, if not a little bit more than that, from that CVS store that was the flashpoint for all of the violence that we saw play out here in this area here at West Avenue and Pennsylvania. It's just over that way. The check cashing center that we watched being looted for about an hour or so yesterday is in that building directly in front of us, about 50 yards away. We've been moved here and we don't know why. As I said, a lot of the people I've talked to in this crowd have been convinced that the police are steadily trying to move everybody away from this area and further down the street without telling them that in advance or telling them why they need to clear out of this area. But we'll wait and see what's happening here right now. It looks like some vehicles are just coming through, and they just happen to be just regular squad car vehicles, nothing big or nothing major. And again, as you can see, there's no explanation as to why we're having to do this. So we'll definitely keep our eyes open and see what's happening here. And as you can see, this crowd, they are watching very, very closely. There are people here who have had cell phone cameras up to their eyes since we pulled up here about 3 hours ago.
Take care, man. Good to see you.
All right, thank you. And there we go. They moved out and they're moving back for whatever reason. We'll have to ask around and find out what that was all about. But again, a lot of these people are here because this is their community. This is their home. There are a lot of people here who are not from this place, who do not live here. I talked with a couple of people here who came here all the way from Frederick because they said it was important for them to be part of the reclamation of this area, of this neighborhood, and the cleanup. So they said they were able to make it inside that CVS to see for themselves what it looked like inside, and they said it looked like a war zone, and they actually began the process of cleaning things up themselves before they were forced to leave. But cleanups are underway all over the area around here. Let's see if we can get more now from Horace Holmes. He's got a look at the cleanup from the vantage point over on Center Street. Is it, Horace?
Yeah, Leon, I am about 3 miles from where you are, south of where you are, still in West Baltimore on Pratt Street, a street full of businesses. You talk about folks where you are in other parts of the city cleaning up. There are some people, business owners, who will have a hard time cleaning up, especially the owners of this store right here, a very important store to the people in this community. We talked to the owners of this business. You could see the damage that was done during the looting last night. The Sungs, some Korean immigrants who moved to this country 33 years ago, most of that time owning this business. And all of that time until last night, they told me they've never had any problems. But we've seen people coming to this store. This was a very important store in this neighborhood, just shaking their heads, wondering what in the world went on and why anyone would do this to businesses in their own community, much less what happened right here. We can go across the street and let you see. At least the Suns have something to pick up. Over here, we talked to the owners of this check cashing and pawn store, and you can see they set it on fire last night. The fire department here right now, there's still hot spots. The owner of this business owns the business right next door that was also damaged in the fire. We also talked to another business owner just a couple of doors down who just moved into his business 2 weeks ago. He's moving out today. He says he's had enough. He's not coming back here. We'll let you hear from all of those folks, bring you the latest from this situation and this scene here in West Baltimore, coming up tonight on ABC 7 News at 5 o'clock. Leon, back to you.
All right, thanks, Forrest. Now, as we said here, we're still watching what's going to happen here with this standoff with the police here on West North Avenue here, a block away from that CVS. Crowd here beginning to gather. We're seeing people showing up here with signs now. So we expect that there will be some more action here and much more emotion being expressed here. And surprisingly, because the schools were closed today, we're seeing people of every single age, race, make, color, you name it, coming out here to express their love and concern for their city. So that's all for now here in Baltimore. Leon Harris reporting live. Allison, Kelly, back to you.
Okay, Leon, thank you. We'll be checking back in with you there in Baltimore soon. Thank you very much. So this crisis in Baltimore is also having an impact on sports teams as well.
That's right. The Orioles announced that tonight's home game between the White Sox has been postponed. However, Wednesday's game will take place at 2:05 p.m. and will be closed to the public. An MLB historian tells CNN that there has never been a Major League Baseball game without fans. All fans with tickets to Orioles games in the coming days can exchange their tickets for any remaining home game this season. Also, the Ravens canceled their draft party, which was scheduled for Thursday night. Former Ravens linebacker Ray Lewis took to social media this morning to send an emotional plea for the violence to stop in Baltimore. Take a look at the video that he posted on his Facebook page.
Baltimore, get off the streets. Kids, go home. Stay home.
You don't have no right to do what you're doing to this city. Too many hardworking people build this city.
Lewis also posted messages on Twitter asking the community to unite and stop the violence.
So on our ABC7 Facebook page, we asked our viewers there, how do you feel specifically about the way Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake has handled the riot situation so far?
And Kelvin wrote, job rating for the issue F. Hashtag enough said.
But Catherine posted this, I feel that unless someone has held the position and experienced what's going on in Baltimore, we shouldn't judge. It's easy to say or think what we would do differently when we haven't experienced or been through it.
And Kevin simply wrote, disappointed. Now you can join the conversation by going to our ABC7 Facebook page.
And we ask you to stay with ABC7 and WJLA.com as we follow this crisis in Baltimore. In our next half hour, we will return to that senior community center that was under construction when it was destroyed in last night's riots.